Hey everybody, welcome to Home Recording Made Easy and Plugin Review Friday, where every Friday I show you a new plugin, we walk through its feature set, and I show you how to apply it to a mix so you can make professional sounding mixes in your home studio. Okay, before we get started, if you like what you see in this video, please consider subscribing and make sure you hit that notification bell, and also make sure you stick around till the end of the video because I have a few free gifts I want to give you that is absolutely going to help you make better music in your home studio. So stick around. Hey everybody, welcome back to Plugin Review Friday, and this week we're going to take a look at yet another Arturia plugin. We're going to take a look at some compressors. A few weeks back we took a look at all their preamps. You should check that out by looking at the Arturia playlist with all the plugins that we've done reviews on. This week we're going to take a look at their Comp FET 76. By looking at it, we all know it's an 1176 emulation, and you might be asking yourself, and kind of I ask myself the same thing, do we need another 1176 emulation? Every plugin manufacturer on planet Earth has one. They all sound very similar. They all sound great. Most companies today do a respectable job modeling these compressors. Depending on the actual hardware unit that they model, they're all going to sound a little bit different. But what's unique about Arturia's is they have some extra features that you don't see in, let's say, the standard old 1176 by Universal Audio or the CLA 76, even though those are more authentic, if you will, true emulations of the hardware, meaning not only in sound, but also in feature set. Arturia took it a step further to give you some extra features, and we'll take a look at that. And this could be something that is very useful, which stands out above the rest. So let's take a walk through the plugin, and then we'll listen to it on some piano, acoustic guitar, maybe a snare drum, and then you can go demo it yourself. You can look at the link in the description box below. So over here in the top left-hand corner next to the logo here, if we click on this drop down, we have a bunch of tutorials. We can resize the window, which I love on all of their plugins. This is beautiful. Look at that. So I love that Arturia does this, and a lot of plugin companies are now starting to go down this route, and I think it's really, really great. Very nice feature that you don't see unlike the Wave CLA 76 or the Universal Audio plugin. Something to keep in mind. We also have in this menu here, presets that you can store. We have tutorials, we have helps in the user manual, and about Arturia, all of that stuff. Then we have our usual suspects. We have our input knob and our output knob. Now we have something unique here to this plugin, which I think is very useful. We have this link screw here that when you turn the input and the output, they're linked so you can level match the plugin. Always super important. You don't have to turn them up and then down independently. But if you want to isolate them so they're not linked, you just turn that little screw here. You can see that, and now you can turn them independently. Okay, I like to keep them on as much as possible. The other thing I'll tell you about, as you'll see as I'm scrolling over things, down in the bottom left-hand corner here, you have a little helps tip window to tell you what each setting does, and we'll talk about how you turn that on and off in a second. Then we have our attack and release, and again, what's really unique about this, which I think is pretty handy for people that are new to an 1176, because 1176s are confusing if you're new to them, in that the attack and release times, the way you turn the knob, is the exact opposite of what you would think. And they've labeled this here, which is really kind of neat. So slow attack is on 1, fast attack is on 7. Okay, so you can see that on attack and release. I think that's a nice little touch, again, especially if you're new to an 1176. Then we have our ratio 4, 8, 12, and 20. And then we have the all buttons mode, which again is not part of the standard equipment like a Universal Audio one. You would hold down your shift key and press it, and all the buttons would go in. That's the famous kind of parallel over crush mode. But things like the Waves plugin has that as well, but that's a nice little touch. And we have a beautiful meter here in the center, which is really easy to see, especially that you can resize the window. We have the way that you can meter this, gain reduction, your inputs or your outputs. You can bypass the plugin by turning the little toggle switch on and off here, and you can see the LED going out, or you can bypass it in the top left-hand corner of the plugin as usual, or you could bypass it down here in the bottom right-hand corner. So 3 ways to bypass the plugin. Then we have something that's unique again to this particular 1176 compared to some other companies. We have a mix knob. I think this is really, really handy to me because I do lots of parallel compression. And if you've seen any of my training videos, any of my Made Easy courses, you'll know I set up a whole different set of busing tracks in my session just for parallel compression, so I can blend them in with the compressed tracks. Don't need to do that anymore when you have a wet dry knob. Very useful, very nice feature. Then up here we have this little light bulb where you could turn the tips on and off. So if I turn them off and I scroll over the knobs, it won't show you anything other than what the actual value is. But if I turn it on, then you're going to start to see here a little bit of tips. So again, if you're new to using an 1176 or you're new to compression as well, these little tips at the bottom of the plug-in there are very helpful. You can also go pick up Compression Made Easy on my website. Link will be in the description box below if you really want to understand and learn how to hear compression, how to effectively use it. Okay, now also what makes this even more unique is we have these little two arrows here. Click on that and it opens up a whole nother pane of settings. Now again, this is not true to the original hardware, obviously, but this is a real nice set of features here that you may or may not use, but you can use if you want to. We have sidechain control here. So we can choose an external or an external source of the sidechain. We have time warp for snap and loose that will affect the way the sidechain works. Again, you can read the manual about all that. Then in the center here, we turn this on and we have a high pass filter. So let's say you're putting this on a drum bus and you don't want the kick drum to affect the way the compressor reacts. You can always turn that up to like 80 hertz or 100 hertz, and everything, let's say below 80 hertz, won't trigger the compressor. Very handy feature. We also have a band equalizer here. So again, if you want to compress certain frequency areas, you can do that as well. And then you can turn the gain up or down here. This is not unique. This is very unique, I should say, to this particular plugin. And then we have a low pass filter as well. You can also listen by pushing on this button to exactly what the sidechain is doing. So if you just want to hear what the sidechain, once you set up the sidechain, what audio is actually affecting the way the compressor reacts, you can listen to that by pressing the listen button. And then here is another really unique feature that I really enjoy. Much like the mix knob, you have the compression range. I think every compressor ought to have this. This is really cool. So let's say you really want to drive the front end of the compressor, and we'll test this out on like a piano just so you could hear what it does and get a little bit of grit, a little bit of distortion on your audio signal, but you don't want to over compress it, right? You don't want to compress it 20 dB to get that signal. You can use this compression range and you can say, no matter how hard I hit the compressor, I only want to compress it 6 dB, and it will only compress 6 dB, and you'll get a little bit more of a gritty sound. We'll check that out as well. So that is the layout of the plugin. Again, a lot of unique features to this 1176 that isn't in a typical 1176 plugin. But all these features are great, but how does it sound? Well, let's check it out. So the first thing we want to do, let's listen to this. Let me close this for a second. Let's solo up an acoustic guitar, because an acoustic guitar is usually an instrument that's not real easy to compress, and you usually can hear the transients and how the compressor reacts. So let's listen to this acoustic guitar for a second. Uncompressed. Here's the original track. Put some compression in there. So we'll set this up with like a pretty medium fast release here. We'll set it up for a fairly, not the fastest attack, but a medium fast attack to really capture that acoustic guitar and kind of rein it in, because when you're strumming an acoustic guitar very heavily, you get lots of very high dynamic range, lots of peaks coming out. Let's do that. And then we'll use the input and the output, and we'll link them together to try to achieve, 3-5 dB of compression. 7 dB on its heaviest peaks. It's bypassed. Okay, it's not perfectly level matched because we're compressing it pretty heavily. So one thing you can do, so we're not judging it by volume, is we can unlink this here, and then we could turn up the output a little bit on the compressed signal to make sure we're level matched. Okay, there we go. So you can hear when he really stops, da-da-da-da-da, you can hear how heavy that is. Listen to that section again, uncompressed. Right there. Now let's listen to it with the compression in play. Very natural sounding. Reins in that transient, but you don't get that real breathing, pumping effect. It doesn't sound like it's compressed. It really reins it in well. Usually when a compressor has been done, it's been emulated very well. It's when you're trying to, that's why I love to test these things on acoustic guitars, pianos, very dynamic, very staccato-y type things, because you can really hear what the compressor's doing. And they did a good job here. It sounds very 1176-ish. And it should, right? It's an 1176 emulation. So now let's say if we wanted to come over here to the wet dry knob, let's just see if we kind of dial in. Maybe what we'll do is we'll push it up a little harder, we'll compress it a little heavier, then we'll use the mix knob so we're not over compressing it. Okay, we'll pull this back. Very, very nice, right? Wet dry knob's really, really, really great for something like this. Now let's use this compression range. You can see it's compressing about 10 dB here. I got it on the fastest attack setting now. Let's show you what happens when I bring this over to like 6 dB. Watch what happens to the meter and then listen to the tone. You can hear on the heaviest drums, it gets a little bit of distortion. We're really hitting the compressor really hard here to get that tone, if that's what you want. And you can use the compression range to limit it. This in and of itself, the compression range and the mix knob, these two features alone would be worth looking at this compressor plugin. Whether you have another 1176 or not, it sounds great. It sounds like an 1176. It sounds like a Universal Audio Waves. It sounds just as good. You know, it's no different. But these two features make it really, really useful. You could get very creative with the way you use compression and the way you use this compressor just by using compression range and the mix knob. I think that's very, very cool. Let's listen to this now on, let's say, maybe a piano. Let's listen to it on a piano here. This is another area where maybe we could drive it really heavy and get a little bit of grit on that piano, which may sit nice in the mix, a little bit of saturation. Let's bring it 100% compressed. Let's push the input. Like an 8-to-1 ratio, fast attack, fast release. Level match it. So you can hear what it's doing there. Again, I'm not saying that's desirable when you want to do that, but you could see what happens as I pull back the compression range. Now we're hitting that thing really, really hard. So maybe if we dial it back to like here, just a little bit of grit. Now let's say you didn't want the real low end to really affect it. We could turn this on and use the high pass filter. Put it up to about 80. Very nice. So again, that could be useful. That's one other way you can use that. And by using the high pass filter, you don't have the real low end of the piano going ahead and affecting the compressor. Okay, so that's another way we can use it. Let's check this out on a snare, and then we'll end up this video here. Let's see what a snare will do here. Again, very transient, heavy material. We'll do a slow attack on this, a fast release. Turn that all the way off. It's before. After. So now we do have some bleed here, so we can use again the high pass filter. And if you want to hear, well, what's the compressor reacting to, you hit the listen button. And that's what, when you press the listen button, that's what the compressor is reacting to, what you're hearing right now. Turn it off. So let's say I turn this up to 1.2K just so you can hear it. Okay. Now that's what the compressor is reacting to. Not that you would set it this way, just so you understand the way the listen button kind of works. Again, and we could push this a little heavier. Maybe do a little bit, not so much a slow attack. Level match it. Use our mix knob. Completely dry. 50-50. 100. And again, we can use the compressor range. I only want to compress no more than 3 dB. So you can even see on that hardest hit, it'll only compress 3 dB. This is a very, very cool compressor. Again, it sounds great. It sounds legit. It's an 1176. It's got that sound if you have any experience with it. But what I really like about it is I love the compression range. I've never seen that on another compressor in 1176. As far as anything that I own, there may be one out there. I don't know of any. I love the mix knob. That's not completely unique. Other companies are starting to do that now, but to have this in one plugin is really great. I love that you can listen to the side chain. This would be very helpful on something when you're doing it on buses. We have a lot of information going on to know exactly what the compressor is reacting to. You could turn that on and just hear that. And I just think it's really, really cool. The fact that you can use internal or external side chains. It reacts very nice when you turn the attack and release. You can see the actual visual of the way the needle moves, and the meter moves, and that's pretty good. Some compressors, sometimes it doesn't seem to react to what you're doing to the knob unless you go very extreme. Not the case with this. Not the case with the hardware either. So again, I'm fairly new to Arturia's plugins, and again, I've reviewed their preamps, which are fantastic. So you got to check out those videos in the Arturia playlist. And now I'm taking a look at their compressors, and here's the first one, and I think this is really, really cool. So if you don't have an 1176 in your collection, give these guys a look. Again, link will be in the description box. You can go ahead and you could demo it before you pick it up. If you do have other 1176s, this might be something that you may want to consider just for the extra features that I mentioned. So I hope hope you enjoyed this look at the Arturia, what do they call this? The Comp FET 76 emulation of the 1176 compressor. Fantastic job, guys. I really do enjoy it. I hope you liked the video. Again, click the links in the description box below and leave comments below and let me know, have you tried any of Arturia's plugins? What do you think of them? What other 1176 plugin emulations do you have in your collection? What are your favorites? Do you have a favorite? Everyone seems to have a favorite. It's probably the most emulated hardware compressor in the world, the 1176. I'd be interested to know what you guys are using and how do you like this? And if you've recently tried it out, what do you think of it? Let me know in the comments below. Now, I want to thank you for watching this entire video. So as I say in every video, I want to give you a couple of free gifts to help you out with your mixing training in your home studio. First thing I want you to do is go to homerecordingmadeeasy.com. I want to give you my 5 free pro tips to a professional sounding mix, free PDF that you can download right to your inbox. Go ahead and do that now at homerecordingmadeeasy.com. I also want to give you a coupon code so you can use it on your first training course or any training course you want to pick up on my website. Use the coupon code YouTube25 at checkout, and that'll give you 25% off any one of the training courses. Again, that code will be in the description box as well. And last but certainly not least, if you really enjoy mixing and you really enjoy learning about these plugins and you struggle with mixing and you want to learn mixing in a very non-technical way, then I encourage you to check out my mixing membership website, mixingmadeeasy.net. Once again, all the links will be in the description box below. And until next week's Plugin Review Friday, I've been Dave with homerecordingmadeeasy.com and mixingmadeeasy.net, and I'll see you guys next Friday. Take care, everybody.